welcome to episode 58 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm here to share all my crafty things with you today. So today's the 7th of February and I hope you've had a lovely crafty week since I last spoke to you. It seems to have gone so quick. I don't feel as if I've got as much done this week. I don't know where the time's gone. Do you guys feel like that sometimes? So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Facebook and my website as Craft House Magic, and you can find all my handmade crafty things that I sell on my website on crafthousemagik.co.uk. I've been, last week I meant to upload one of the tutorials on bobbin lace, but unfortunately I didn't get time to finish editing it, so I'm going to do that this afternoon. I've actually recorded a couple more videos on bobbin lace, so the one that's already up before this video is on what things you'll need for bobbin lace. I've also recorded a video on how to wind bobbins, a separate one on whole stitch and a separate one on half stitch, and in the future, I haven't recorded it today, but I'm hoping to do like a sort of a bobbin lace bookmark so that we can sort of do it together from start to finish so that you get an idea of how to do a whole project. But I think that's all I'm going to do because I don't feel like I'm a super expert on bobbin lace, and it's a good idea to find a group, a local group to you if you want to pursue that further. Today I've got some knitting, a little bit of sewing, some dressmaking, a blast from the past, and a question on the Ask Me Anything thread, some confessions. Actually, it's not properly confessions because it was a gift, so I'll be showing you that in that section though because it kind of fits in. And then I've got some information on my shop update, which is tomorrow the 8th of February at 7 p.m. So let's get started with the knitting goodness. Right. Oh, I need to mention we've got a couple of knit alongs or craft alongs going on in the Ravelry group. I'm just waving my hands here. We've got the gnome along, which is knitting the Here We Gnome Again pattern or any gnome pattern, which I haven't been very good at keeping up with Ravelry list this week, but I'm hoping to catch up after the podcast recording today. And we've also got a thread where we're chatting about what we're knitting for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So don't worry if you're not actually going, join in anyway, we can pretend, and I'll put up a video after I've been so that you can feel like you've been as well. Right, actual knitting. Northeasterly blanket, which is actually going to be a scarf. I shouldn't be knitting on because I should be getting on with my Edinburgh Yarn Festival jumper cardigan. I can't get words out today, oh dear. But I've done from right there, I think. This one looks quite dark, especially on camera, but I think once it's tied in with all the other ones it'll be fine. I'm sort of going to the darker colours on this side of the shawl, so you can see that I've done this much and I've got that much to knit till I get to the end of this row. And I don't know if you remember last week I was saying I don't know whether I'll do 3 stripes or 4 strips, strips, chevrons. So once I finish this row I'll decide whether I'm actually going to do another row or not, and I'm quite tempted to do some I-cord down the edges just to finish that off a little bit, but I've got some lovely colours in there. I think that'll look nice when it's finished. You never know, I might actually wear this for Edinburgh Yarn Festival as well. So it could be considered as an Edinburgh Yarn Festival knit as well, so yeah. Second project. Oh, I forgot to say, the Northeasterly blanket is by Melissa and she's the Skinanigans podcast, and I'll leave a link down below to the pattern as well. I'll leave a link down below to all the patterns that I show. This is how I'm getting on with my cardigan. So this is my Cherry Blossom cardigan and the pattern's by Lena Tosti, and I'll leave a link down below to the pattern so you can find it, rather than me actually fluffing up the pronunciation, you trying to look up my pronunciation. So last week I think I'd done some of the pink centres for in the middle of the flowers, and I finished that off, so I've done that all the way around. You could just about see it, but that seemed to take me ages. But now I've started doing the twigs between the blossoms, and I decided that I'm going to do the brown because I put strands of each of the colours on top of there, and I think the green is sort of detracted from the flowers, whereas the brown kind of just, I don't know, it looks kind of like it disappears into the background in a way, if that makes sense. And plus, I think because there's less sort of bright colours in it, it's more wearable with different things. So I've been a wuss pants. I've stuck to the darker and more sort of subtle colours. But these twiggy bits, I don't think are taking me quite so long as the centre of the flowers, because there isn't quite so much. I think that probably took me about half an hour to do that much. So I'm hoping that by next week's podcast, I'll actually have something properly different to show you. I'll have picked up the stitches back off the waste yarn around the edge. So I'm hoping that'll look nice. Yeah. Right. Rather than pulling lots of faces at you today. So the yarn that I'm using is Knit by Numbers by John Arbon, and it's in colour number 5 is the grey, 77 and 79 are the pinks, and ooh, what colour was the brown? Better check. It's number 7. So I've just bought a little 25-gram mini of the brown, and I probably could have got away with the darker pink as the 25-gram as well, but I can make a hat to match if I've got time, or I can knit it while I'm there. Right, so that's actually all the knitting that I've done this week. That over sewing, that stitching over, I never actually explained to you properly. Oh dear. So I'm using a darning needle to duplicate stitch the colours over here. So I've done proper colour work with the lighter pink and the grey, and then I've duplicate stitched the centre of the flowers and the twigs in between. And you can see that my brown is still attached there. Oh, somebody asked me to show them the back of my work, of my colour work. It's a little bit messy, so you can see that I've got quite short floats between the pink and the grey, but because I've done the duplicate stitching, you can see some strands in between of the darker pink, and I shall show you a little bit where I've done the brown as well. I'm trying to, when I'm travelling from one piece of brown to the other, I'm making sure that I go in under the floats at the back so that there's not even bigger sort of floats created by the duplicate stitching. So there we go. I think Very Pink Knits has got a good tutorial on duplicate stitching if you're looking for that. She's got quite a lot of good tutorials on there. I better stick my needle back in my work before I lose it. Yes, so that's it for my sort of knitting. The duplicate stitching took forever to do, and this week has just gone crazy, ever so quick. I'm drinking out of my Nutella mug today, and I'm actually drinking chocolate orange flavoured tea from Asda. Which tastes a bit weird, but it's okay. Next section is the sewing. So I'm going to call Barbara over to show you what she's got on. Come on, Barbara. Oh, you look lovely, Barbara. So Barbara is modelling my kimono. So this pattern is by Sew Over It. And it's a very easy pattern to make because you don't really have to sort of worry about sizes too much because it's quite a drapey, oversized sort of thing. I made the extra large, I think. I stuck to the longest sleeves and I used the longest version of the pattern, which is coming out just below where the camera's coming up. But I just think that this is a lovely piece to go over just a t-shirt, and it dresses up just a little bit. It's made out of a very sheer polyester fabric, and I really liked this print when I saw it. I picked it up from the Knitting and Stitching show, I think. Could have been that or the quilt show, I can't remember. One of these shows anyway, from the stalls where they have absolutely loads of rolls of fabric all piled up. So I had to pick up a few metres, and it was really, really inexpensive. It was about £4 a metre, and I think I needed 3 metres for this pattern, but I did end up with quite a bit left over. I suppose it's for in case you have directional prints and things, they give you an overestimation of how much you need. But I got 3 metres, so it comes to £12, so that's really not bad at all. I did French seams all inside. I'm trying to preserve Barbara's dignity by not opening it up. Should we turn you around, Barbara, so they can't see? So I've done French seams all on the insides. Because I think with this type of fabric it frays like mad, so it's good to have a nice French seam. And I just turned it over a couple of times and top stitched it for doing the hem. So, make sure you covered Barbara. So for the neckband round here, you can either hand sew it all the way around or top stitch it, and I cheated and I top stitched. So I applied the band and then I made sure that it was overlapping where the seam was on this side, so I was able to sort of stitch in the ditch on the front to tack in the piece of band on the back. Piece of band, that's good English, isn't it? to tack the band onto the back of the inside of the cardigan, and that worked quite nicely. I was actually quite pleased that worked out, and because it's transparent, the fabric, I could actually see whether I was going to catch the fabric or not, which really helped. Because this is a polyester and it's quite sort of slippy, it kept sliding off the table when I was sewing it. It was a bit of a nightmare, but it didn't actually stretch very much, which was really good, because I've made this pattern before and I made it in a crepe de chine, and I found that the neckband sort of slid around quite a lot, so you had to be quite careful when I pinned it in place. But this one was quite easy to fit in. So I'm quite pleased with that. I thought I can either wear it with like a navy blue t-shirt and jeans, or I could have it over a swimsuit when I go on holiday. So there we go. Let's give you another look at the back. I think you need oiling again, Barbara. So isn't that a pretty print? I love it. And I think because it's quite nice and dark in the background as well, it makes a more flattering outfit. So thank you very much, Barbara. Thanks, Barbara. So I'm hoping to actually make my stripy blue top with the pink buttons and the pink neckline done for next week. But I'd already got that cut out, so I had to finish it. Although, confession, I do actually have my Zadie dress cut out already, which I need to make. So what do I make first? Decisions. So, next section is my blast from the past. So I was looking through my knitwear drawer and I found these and I thought I'd show you them. So there's some mittens, and they're the striped mittens according to Badegakk, and I knitted these, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. It was me and Emma from Eldenwood Craft did a little bit of a knit along, and we had fun striping these up with some colours. So they're not it's not self-striping yarn. I've put those stripes in myself, and I used yarn that's Knit Pick Stroll. I can't remember what colours I used, but if you'd like to know, I'll leave a link down below to my project page so that you can see. I've linked all the ones that I've used. But they're really handy. I must admit, because they are just 4-ply and they're not colour work or anything, they're just sort of one layer of 4-ply knitting. They're not the warmest of mittens, but they do keep the chill off a little bit, so they're lovely. Hello. Oh dear. That's my blast from the past. Next section is the Ask Me Anything. Somebody asked me either in Instagram or Ravelry or somewhere, I can't remember who it was, I'm afraid, but they were asking me how do you use a DPN case on circular needles. So traditionally, DPN cases, you put your DPNs in there and you've got your sock that's coming out. See if I can put my Northeasterly blanket in it so that you can see what I mean. So you'd have your, nearly dropped a stitch then. So you'd have your knitting and you'd put your DPN into there, and especially if you're knitting socks, having a DPN case is absolutely vital to stop those needles from coming out of your work. So that's how you'd use it on DPNs, but you could also use it on circulars. So if you can imagine you've got a shawl or something on these needles, you can pop them into the case and put it like that to keep your needles safe. Or if you're knitting socks, you can actually leave your sock, if you're knitting it magic loop, if you're knitting your sock, you can leave them on the needles like that and pop them into the needle case like so. So you'll have your sock sticking out here. But I have developed a circular needle case, which I've got one in here that I've been using. I'm afraid I haven't got any of these left in the shop at the moment of this fabric, but I've got some ones with cat print on. So it's like a roll. Now you stick your needles into the pocket at the end and you roll them up, and you have a loop that goes around a little button so that your project's attached to this. So this would be for shawls and things, or garments where you want the end of your loop to hold your knitting. And you can actually loop this into the elastic band as well. So thanks for that question. I'm sorry I can't remember who it was. It wasn't actually on the Ravelry group that I was asked, it was on some other social media, so I just remembered and wrote it down in my notes. So my second to last section is confessions. So I had a lovely parcel in the post from my friend Caroline, who's Caroline Loved to Sew, and we swapped some lovely Valentine's themes bags. This is the one I got from Caroline. Isn't that pretty? And it's got some little strawberries on the fabric there. And she also sent me one of her new pin badges. Isn't that sweet? She's got some of these in the shop at the moment. So I'll leave a link down below to her website as well. So she's Caroline Loves to Sew by C, and I'll leave a link down below anyway so you can find it. So that's my little confession. Even though it was a swap, it didn't count. Okay. So I've just got one more section. I've got my shop update section. So if you're not interested in listening to what's in that, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next week for an update on what I've been up to, and hopefully I'll have some more different things to show you. So I've got lots of bags today. I've been busy doing some sock size ones, so I've been messing around making some little tags for the sides of this set. So these ones are a lovely insect print, and I've put a nice pink ribbon and a little bee, and it's turned round, a little bee progress keeper on here. And this one, this design, I've put some purple fabric on the inside, and you can see I've stamped my little logo. So that's the first of my bags. I've also got a couple of bags which I used to have this fabric in the shop, and I found a little bit left, so I've just finished making them up into bags. So there's literally only one of these left. This is my sheepy one with some grey wool on the bottom, and it's lined with white fabric with my logo stamped inside, and all these have got big pockets inside as well, double pockets. And here you've got a little sheepy on the side. And here we go. We've got a cat bag. So I've got just one smaller one of these and then one larger one I'll show you in a minute. So this is the sock size cat bag with a little cat charm on the... I'm showing you the wrong side. I'm showing you his bum. And it's just got a cream inside with my logo and some pockets. And then I go to slightly bigger ones. Now, I found some of this fabric, but I find that it looks quite different on just because it's sort of a patchwork print. So I shall list these two separately. But this is quite a heavyweight sort of linen fabric, so it does make the bag a little bit heavier. And I've popped a little heart charm on there with some blue ribbon. These ones have got tabs on the side, so you could attach your own clasp if you wanted to handle on it. And they've got a nice creamy white lining with the pockets in as usual. That's got the same lining in as well. I've also, this is one of the ones where I found some fabric that I used to sell in the shop ages ago, and I found one bit left, so I made it up into a bag, and that's got a little tree charm. Most of these are actually zip ones today, and then it's got some creamy lining with two big pockets. And then I have got two drawstring bags, and these are of a print, a sort of botanical print, but they are quite different on both sides. But I think I'm going to list these on the same listing because they're more similar than the other set. And these have got some grey wool on the bottom, and these are a drawstring, so they drawstring up like so, and they've got a box bottom. So there's two of those, and they've got cream lining with the pockets deeper inside because they're drawstring. And then last but not least, I've got one of these left, and it's my larger cat print bags with some just a different thicker heavier weight material at the bottom as a contrast. And again, I've got a little cat progress keeper, and then the lining is a nice cream lining. So there we are. It's nice to actually, I've been sorting out all my fabric pieces and actually making them up into bags that have been in my stash a little while, so that's nice to see. So the shop update will be tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Yes, I've forgotten what time the update was then. So it'll be update tomorrow at 7 o'clock. But don't worry if you can't make it for that time, because I do find that I have quite a bit left over the next day or two, so don't worry about that. They don't normally sell out super quick. I try to keep the shop updated as much as possible, so I've noticed there's still quite a lot of yarn in there from last week's update where I had 12 new colourways released, and thank you so much to anybody who purchased from my shop, or was purchased from my shop anytime. I think that's it for today. Bit of a shorter one today, but I'm going to get those bobbin lace tutorials up for those of you who are interested, and I'm hoping to have lots more crafty things to show you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. Bye!